Is there an old lady who is so nosy in every food market? Whether it's the power outage or the flood, as long as she sees it, she will immediately take out the camera and take a picture, and then report it to the telecommunications office. In more than 20 years, she has reported more than 8,000 cases in total, and has killed more than 5 district chiefs. But the jade powder still shines brightly, so people in the telecommunications office call her Strange Grandma. She came to report as usual that day, but the new staff asked her to get the number from Ling Biao. The jade powder laughed after hearing it. "I've been here longer than you, and no one has ever asked me to get the number. Pick one now." Looking at the young man who doesn't know the sky and the land in front of him, the jade powder silently wrote down his name. "My name is Park Min-jae. Let's meet often." The next day, the jade powder came to the telecommunications office again. This time she got the number, but she got more than 80 cases at a time. Looking at the thick documents, she felt the pressure for the first time. And the reason why the jade powder loves to look for tea every day is because she is too lonely. The jade powder runs a tailor shop alone in the market. Her only brother was sent to the United States because of the war, so her brother can't speak Korean. In order to communicate fluently with her brother, the jade powder took an English tutoring class the next day. But she couldn't keep up with the teacher's class speed. She had to ask the simplest words over and over again. It seriously disrupted the order of the class. After a class, the principal successfully persuaded her. When the jade powder was depressed, she heard a familiar voice speaking English fluently. She took a closer look and found out that it was the receptionist Min-jae of the telecommunications class. This gave the jade powder hope again. She started pestering her to make her her own English teacher. She saw that Min-jae didn't want to do it at all. She found an excuse to reject her. "The complaints that my grandmother put in are piled up like a pile of mountains. I don't have time these days. I'm sorry. How can this little problem stop the strange grandmother?" The next day, the jade powder wrote a request on the application form of the telecommunications class to let Min-jae be her own English teacher. Then she moved the food and drink to the telecommunications class. She took the class as a classroom with air conditioning and recited English words loudly. Now Min-jae can't sit still. She asked her what she meant. She also said that she was disrupting the work. The jade powder was a little angry when she heard it. "Since it's disturbing the work, I'd better report it. I'm leaving." Looking at the eyes of a colleague asking for help, Min-jae had no choice but to agree. It's important to have a good teacher. Min-jae taught her to memorize words in various games. She could only speak English when playing games. If she said a word in Korean, she would be hit in the head. The jade powder quickly counterattacked and went back. The base was almost done. Min-jae took her to a bar full of foreigners. He let her go up and chat with foreigners. She didn't know if she didn't chat. She was scared when she chatted. Not only did the jade powder fight with them very quickly, but she also became the queen of the bar. On the Mid-Autumn Festival, Min-jae ate alone. At this time, Min-jae came to see her with her brother. The jade powder saw a smile on their faces. She immediately made them a delicious meal and added fish cakes to feed her brother. Min-jae was a little jealous. She let the jade powder eat a fish cake for her. In August and May, the three of them came out to enjoy the moon after dinner. The jade powder missed her brother in the United States. Every night when she slept, the jade powder always dreamed of playing with her brother when she was a child. She said one of the reasons she learned English was to call her brother to ask if he was doing well. Min-jae turned over the photo. When she saw the jade powder's brother's phone, she wrote on the back of the photo, "In order to make the jade powder have no regrets." Min-jae tried to call her brother, but her brother said coldly, Min-jae dared not tell this news to the jade powder, so he persuaded her to give up learning English and lied that he was going to take the exam for a while. He was very busy every day. After saying that, he got up and left. But the day the jade powder came to the letter office, he accidentally heard the conversation of the staff. That's when he knew that the black-hearted developers who were going to demolish the food market had long been colluding with the government. The jade powder came to the letter office in anger and planned to return those reports of his own. But in the end, the reports had already been destroyed. The jade powder felt that he had been deceived. It turned out that he worked hard to collect evidence, not because he loved to meddle in other people's affairs, but to protect the merchants in the market. Their life was not easy. Now the black-hearted developers have to forcibly take back the shops. He collected evidence to make the government come forward and drive away the developers. But now the evidence is being used by Min-jae as a garbage destroyer. The jade powder asked him to teach himself English. Did he want to reduce the sense of guilt? Minjae said in a fit of anger that day that he called his brother and said that he didn't have to learn English because your brother didn't want to contact you at all. Minjae. A few days later, the tailor shop of the Jade Powder was closed. Because his best friend Jung Shin had Alzheimer's disease, the Jade Powder had been taking care of him in bed these days, because his best friend gave him the courage to live in the shelter. At the age of 13, the Jade Powder was forcibly taken to the shelter. He was abused by the disabled in the military camp. The Jade Powder was so humiliated that he wanted to commit suicide. His best friend rushed into the house and saved him. Why can't I die? Can I do whatever I want with my life? How can I stand it alone? The two of them became each other's reliance in the shelter. Every day they face here together. After being rescued from the shelter, his best friend has been running around and accusing the Japanese army of being cruel to his father. But one time, his best friend went to testify. The interpreter there deliberately distorted the facts and said that they wanted to eat white rice before becoming his father. Since then, his best friend has been practicing the English of a fluent tongue in order to tell the truth to the whole world. But before going to the United States to testify, the old man was in a daze and took the first step. In order to help his best friend fulfill his wish, the Jade Powder decided not to hide anymore and went to the United States on behalf of him to attend the hearing. The next day, the newspaper published the news that the Jade Powder was about to attend the hearing. Only then did the merchants in the market know that the Jade Powder, who usually meddles in other people's affairs, had such an unknown experience. The Jade Powder came to his mother's grave and complained about the grievances he had suppressed in his heart for so many years. At that time, his mother was afraid of affecting his brother's future, so she hid the secret of Wei Anfu to death. In the end, all his relatives abandoned him. "Mom, why did you do that? Why are you so embarrassed?" "I was afraid that I would be a burden to you, and that I would be a burden to my son. I was afraid that I would be a burden to you, and that I would be a burden to my son. Even my parents and brothers abandoned me. How can I live a proud life? My poor son, I was cursed. I was cursed. Mom, Mom, Mom." At night, Mingzai came to the tailor's shop with tears in his eyes and kept apologizing to the Jade Powder. The Jade Powder hugged him and chose to forgive him. Then he took out an old photo of Chen Feng for 60 years. He never showed this photo to anyone. The Jade Powder talked about his sad past. The more he talked about the Jade Powder, the more painful his heart was. Merchants in the market knew that he was going to America and sent gifts to him. Although they used to be very annoyed with this nosy old lady, now they admire her even more. A few days later, the Jade Powder came to Washington to attend the hearing. But a piece of news on TV made everyone sad. Because Mom was afraid that Wei Anfu's story would be humiliated, she didn't let the Jade Powder register Wei Anfu's identity. Now the Japanese are suspicious of his identity. They postponed the hearing. Mingzai saw the news and hurried to the tailor's shop and took out the photo. This is the most powerful evidence. A few days later, the hearing finally began. An old man who was Wei Anfu's colleague testified on stage. He thought that cutting his hair short would make him ugly and make the soldiers hate him. But this made them curious. After saying all this, he seemed to have drawn all his strength and was led down the stairs. Next, the Jade Powder testified on stage. But the audience questioned his identity and even insulted him. Fortunately, the Jade Powder testified. But Mingzai wasn't there. The Jade Powder stood for a long time and didn't dare to speak. This is a familiar voice. "How are you, old friend?" "I am fine, thank you, and you?" "I will remember, okay?" At the same time, Mingzai also brought the key photo. Seeing Mingzai, the Jade Powder had the courage to tell the truth. He took off his clothes. This scar is enough to prove the cruel history. This is what the Japanese engraved on him. Every time I see these scars, the memories of hellish pain will linger in my heart. There is no evidence. I am the evidence. I'm standing here today for those young girls. Their childhood was stolen away by the crimes of the Japanese army. We are not asking for too much, just for you two. I acknowledge that this is the truth, your wrongdoings. We are giving you the chance to ask for our forgiveness while we are still alive. I'm sorry, is that so hard? If you don't want to leave everybody or your future generations, then apologize before it is too late. He asked everyone here to remember what Wei Anfu went through and the sad history. After he said that, the Jade Powder let out a sigh. He finally took his place. The audience stood up and applauded. The people who questioned the Jade Powder came to apologize. but the Japanese refused to apologize and asked how much the jade powder wanted. Mingzai heard it and rushed to hit him. The jade powder stopped him and rebuked him in Japanese. "Don't care." When he returned to the lounge, an old man had been waiting for him for a long time. This old man was Mingzai's brother. He saw his sister's body in the newspaper and kept apologizing. The jade powder didn't blame him but said he missed her. After a few decades, they finally hugged again. After returning to China, the jade powder was still looking for trouble, but the businessman was smiling. In the following years, the jade powder has been running around the world to talk about the brutal behavior of the Japanese against Wei Anfu. On June 26, 2007, Wei Anfu's pardon case won 39 votes and 2 votes. It was also the first time in the international community that the U.S. House of Representatives publicly recognized the Japanese Wei Anfu incident.